Hi everybody, I'm Again Kralbeck and today we are going to learn about the environment, exactly about climate change. Everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, said the American writer Mark Twain in 1897. More than 100 years later, everybody is certainly talking about the weather and climate change. From hurricanes in Brazil to floods in Bangladesh, from heat waves in France to drought in Australia, the weather is never out of the news. But is anybody doing anything about it? The climate is changing, but why? What can we do about it? And what should we do about it? These are important questions, and perhaps there is not a lot of time to find the answers. The climate is going to have an effect on the lives of everybody in the world. What is climate change? The Earth is very old. It has changed often during its long life, and it's still changing. Millions of years ago, when dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex were alive, the Earth was much warmer. There was very little ice on the land or on the sea, even in the very north or the very south of the world, and the sea was much higher than it's today. There have been many changes since that time, sometimes to a warmer climate, sometimes to a colder one. About 20,000 years ago, for example, a time called an ice age began. There was ice over much of the world, and it was 3 kilometers deep over much of North America and Europe. And the sea wasn't as high as it is today. Our climate has changed many times, and it will change again. Why does our climate change? Sometimes the change comes from outside the Earth. For example, the Earth moves around the Sun. This is called the Earth's orbit. Every few thousand years, the Earth changes its orbit around the Sun. The change happens slowly, and it brings the Earth nearer to the Sun, or it takes it far away from the Sun. When this happens, it can finish an ice age, or it can start a new one. Changes can also come from inside the Earth. An example of this is the volcano of Krakatoa. When it erupted in 1883, the sky became dark over many countries and stayed dark for months. And for more than a year, the Earth was 1 degree colder than before. But now, for the very first time, people are changing the climate. In the year 90s, the Earth was 0.7 degree colder than it was in 20s, just 100 years later. This change didn't happen because of the Earth's orbit. It happened because of us. Some people think that this is a small change, but think about this. A change of just 5 to 7 degrees can start or finish an ice age. How does our climate work? Let's define it. Why can people live on the Earth but not on Mars or Venus? The answer is all around us, our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is made of gases that are necessary for life. The two most important gases are nitrogen, 78%, and oxygen, 20%. The other 2% of our atmosphere is made of many other gases, And the most important of these gases for our climate is carbon dioxide. Our atmosphere is important because it gives us air, and we need air to live. But it has another important job. Because of our atmosphere, the Earth doesn't get too hot or too cold. Mars has a thin atmosphere and its temperature is about minus 50 degrees. Venus has a thick atmosphere and its temperature is about plus 460 degrees. The atmosphere of the Earth is somewhere between the two. The Earth is getting warmer and much of the Earth's ice is melting. But some of the biggest and most important changes are happening in the Arctic. Winters in Alaska and the west of Canada are nearly 4 degrees warmer than in the 1950s. And in the summer, the change is even bigger. In the summer of 2007, there was 20% less ice covering the Arctic than in the 1970s. In other words, the Arctic has lost a piece of ice as big as the country of Egypt. Less ice covers both the land and the sea, and the ice on the sea is now less thick than it used to be, by nearly 40%. What will happen if more ice melts? This problem worries many people all over the world. But before we look at this problem, we must first look at some other changes that have already happened to our climate. This event about monsoon rains in Mumbai. In the past, when the climate was less warm, the monsoon rains weren't so heavy. But now, with a warmer climate, there are more very heavy storms in each monsoon. Scientists think that the monsoon rains will increase by more than 10% during the 21st century. Perhaps there will be some years with little rain, but there will be more years with heavy rain and floods. And this is true for other places in the world. For many people, the 21st century will bring more rain, heavier rain, and more floods. But many places in the world have the opposite problem. For them, a hotter world is a drier world. The Sahel region of Africa is south of the Great Dry Sahara Desert. In this region, there is less rain than before, and one of the biggest lakes in the world has nearly disappeared. Lake Chad has lost 95% of its water, and this has happened in only 40 years. So, climate change isn't simple. Different changes are happening in different places. But one thing is changing for everyone, the weather is making more problems. When it's hot, it's going to be hotter than before. When the wind blows, the wind will be stronger. When it rains, the rain will be heavier. In other words, the 21st century brings us extreme weather. Hurricanes, also called cyclones or typhoons in some parts of the world, are windstorms that start in the oceans. So this event was in several countries, such as the United States, France, Japan, Brazil, and Canada. It's a result of climate change. A lot of water will become dirty from floods, so there will be less clean water for people to drink. Many fish and other animals will be in danger. But the biggest danger is this. Think about the car running down the hill. Think about the ice in Greenland and Antarctica. Some scientists think that a temperature rise of 2 degrees will melt all the ice in Greenland during the next century. That will increase the sea level by 7 meters. The Earth is getting warmer because of their greenhouse effects, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and other harmful gases. So their level in the atmosphere is rising. We burn coal and oil to make energy for our factories, offices, and homes, and for our cars, trains, and planes. This makes about 75% of the carbon that goes into the atmosphere. The other 25% comes from the land. Everywhere in the world, people are building houses, offices, and roads, and cutting down plants and trees. And when plants and trees die, their carbon goes back into the atmosphere. This is where the carbon comes from. But who is putting it there? We are. Each person on Earth puts 4,600 kilos of carbon dioxide. So this is a global problem. It isn't easy to find answers, but people have started looking for them. What can we do? And what should we do? Is climate change an important problem? Do I want to do something about it? If you can answer yes to these two questions, then you have already started to do something about it. And you have started to change yourself. This is the first thing to do. Next, you can start to change other people. It isn't as hard as you think. If you talk about climate change to your friends, then you will help them to change themselves. And if everyone talks about climate change, and our government will want to do something about it. But you can do more than talk. You can change your way of living. Ask yourself, how much carbon do I put into the atmosphere? This is called carbon footprint. You have to measure many things: your transport, your food, your clothes, your telephone, and everything in your home. And you mustn't forget the very big things. If your government builds a road or your supermarket brings food from a long way away, this increases your carbon footprint. The easiest way to reduce your carbon footprint is to use less energy. We use most energy either in the home or for travel. Think of all the things in your home like televisions and computers that use energy. Do you always turn them off when you aren't using them? Do you use them more than you need to? Think about when you travel. Do you use a car more than you need to? Think about buying food. Does the food come from somewhere near to you or from a long way away? So in conclusion, people always say that climate change is a global problem, but actually it isn't so terrible. It's just a local problem because all we can do is something about it. We can start in our homes. Yes, it's hard to change our ways of living and working, but we should change it. In order to reduce all harmful greenhouse effects in the atmosphere, we should use less energy. Turn all electronic devices off when you aren't using them. Despite of using harmful energies like coal, oil, and gases, we can use energies from natural sources. For example, the sun, water, and the wind. In order to get the solar energy from the sun by using solar collectors and to take wind power from the wind by using wind turbines and to take water power from water by using techniques and so on. Though, if you want to live in a very clean atmosphere, if you want to help to our climate to be cleaner, to be healthier, let's start from yourself. Let's change your way of living. And let's make the world better together. So finally, hello everyone again. I hope you guys that you really enjoyed this video lesson, and hope you that after this lesson you have learned about climate change and the importance of our environment, and how to protect our nature. And also hope you that you have found a lot of useful information in this video. I think that it was interesting and useful for all of us, and thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye.